Good morning, new mooners, and to all who are completely aligned today, being the new moon in Taurus. As we do the I'm Moon, or the immune cleanse, to cleanse out any false beliefs, especially for me this morning, the belief in separation. When we look at what the new moon represents, it occurs when the moon is not being illuminated by the light of the sun. So it's also known as the dark moon. For me, when I look at this phase of the moon, I look at it as the time to go deep inside of our unconscious mind to see if there's anything that we need to bring to the light. Because most of the time we're all just so busy with our jobs, with our children, with doing everything that the world has, kind of like imposed upon us, not making us a victim or anything. But this new moon has brought up something for me that I would like to share with you. Being a part of our New Mooner Cleanse Club, I would like to offer to you my heart this morning, because I kind of have been stumbling for the last 5 days or so, because I was called and told that my niece, who's very, very special to me, had a massive stroke and was not expected to live. So instead of immediately doing the Hooponopono process, which I've written about in the book, I immediately fell into grief. I immediately wanted to just run up to my family to see what I could do to support everyone. And she is now struggling for her life and is on life support. And they're going to wait, I think, another 24 hours to make the decision to see if she can pull through or not. And if not, then she will be passing. They will be pulling the life support plug. So I guess it was about 10 months ago, sometimes I get lost in time, that her father passed, who was my brother. And 3 months or so before he passed, his wife passed, and her name is Terry. And 3 months later, my brother passed. His name is Randy. And now their daughter, Stacy, is in intensive care. And they don't know if she's going to make it or not. They have all been raising 4 children from a daughter who has been addicted to drugs. And my brother and his wife took custody of those children to raise those children in a beautiful home. And then the mom passed, which is grandmom. She passed, and those children lost the only mother that they had really ever known. And then my brother passed 3 months later, who was the only father that these children ever knew. And then now the daughter, my niece, may be passing. And I cannot even imagine what these 4 children are going through. So instead of doing the Hooponopono process, which basically says, in quantum science, there's something called the divine matrix, which basically says we are all interconnected, every one of us, but especially those of us who are family, because our DNA is involved and our RNA is involved. And what happened with me is, again, I fell into grief. So I'm confessing I fell into grief instead of just grabbing hold of my divine self and going, I'm going to do Hooponopono, which means to make right. I was in Hawaii at one point, and in Hawaii I studied with a kahuna before Joe Vitale wrote an amazing book about Dr. Lynn and how Dr. Lynn was in charge of a mental hospital. And after, I think it was about a year after Dr. Lynn did Hooponopono process on all of the patients that were in there, just by using 4 words and looking at their charts every day, everyone was healthy and left the hospital. And so Hooponopono basically says there is no separation. There's only one of us here within that divine matrix. And I think that that's what we're all kind of facing today in the world that we're living in, because there's so much chaos going on. So Hooponopono, especially during this new moon phase, the new moon phase again is where we go down into the deepest part of ourself so that we can pull up that which we desire to happen. So again, in Hooponopono, when I was over there was a child that had done something wrong within the community, and the parents were called in by the principal of the school. And what they did is they brought the child in, they called all of the elders, and they formed a circle and put the child in the middle of the circle, and they said Hooponopono, which means to make right. There is no separation. We're all in this together. There's only one of us here. Such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way to forgive, wouldn't you think? And the word forgiveness actually means to change your reality in Aramaic. So this morning, as I was waking up and just being so interconnected with my breath, a reality had shifted that again, I had gone into grief. Instead of bringing Stacy into our circle, and we're all interconnected, but as I said, but especially with our own blood family. So the Hooponopono process for me today, during this new moon phase, is to make right. Is to make right of the situation, and the 4 words would be, or the 4 phrases would be, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. So who you're actually speaking with is your own spirit, the Spirit of God who lives within all of us, who breathes our body, who beats our heart. So we're going to make right and forgive ourselves for anything that we might have done to miss the mark. I have been living off and on the island of Patmos for years. And the word apocalypse doesn't mean the final war between good and evil. It actually means to lift the veil. So this morning we're going to lift the veil between the unconscious mind and the conscious mind so that we can see and go down in there to look at what we need to forgive. The word sin in Greek doesn't mean something wrong that we have done. It means to forget. When we forget who and what we really are through this divine matrix and through the Spirit of God who lives within all of us, then we miss the mark. This morning, I missed the mark. For the last 3 or 4 days since she's been in intensive care, I missed the mark. But today I'm going to make that right. So the forgiveness prayer that I would say, and so you can look at something also within yourself where you feel like that you've missed the mark. And we go in and we talk to our spirit and we say to our spirit, I'm sorry that I have believed even in the possibility of anyone having a stroke. Please forgive me for using my consciousness in such an unwise way. Thank you for cleaning my mind, my consciousness, for cleansing it of the belief that separation is even possible. Thank you for restoring my mind to love. Thank you for restoring my heart within this divine matrix to align with the knowing that all things are possible. I love you. So again, consider where you may have missed the mark, where you have forgotten who and what you are, and you have forgotten that there is a power inside of you, inside of me, inside of all of us, that can grab hold of that power, like Moses did when he parted the Red Sea. And it's actually noted, and I can't remember, I think it's Dr. Parker, someone of National Geographic's, who basically felt like Moses parted the Red Sea during the new moon phase when the tides were right. So let's be like Moses and take hold of our Moses mind this morning, and anything that you need to let go of so that you can take hold of the new life. Let's look at that together and go, we're going to part this sea, and we're going to believe in the great I am that I am, because this is our power, and it lives within us as it does within everyone around us. Let's use the power of the Hooponopono forgiveness today during this new moon phase. Let's use our lobelia to help our cells to let it go, which is the water herb, which is our kind of like the John the Baptist herb, if you will, the letting go process. Let's take hold of the cayenne pepper, which is, I call it the baptism of fire, to move it out of our body, of our cellular system that holds on to these memories, that keeps us feeling that we're separate from the divine or each other. And let's use this new moon to cross over and leave the land of Egypt, which is the consciousness of even the belief that these plagues are even possible, that this matrix that we've been living in is even possible. And let's take hold of that I am presence in a way that we've never taken a hold of it before, and believe in what people might even call the impossible, from plagues, sickness and disease, to the miraculous, to the freedom of our soul, to the freedom of our body, to knowing that we are one with everything and everyone, including God. So thank you again, and again, apologies for not doing our monthly Zoom call. I just didn't know if I could pull it off because, again, of my grief. So again, to my spirit and to you, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you.